Welcome back to Artists, Engineers, and Entrepreneurs from Hiller Measurements. Today, if you look behind me, we're not at Hiller today. We're coming to you live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we are with our friends from SRO. You met Greg Gill. Remember Greg a number of months back? Well, we've been invited to come out and tape. And so today, we're taping a couple of episodes with some of the folks tied to SRO who are also doing some incredible things in the world of engineering and business and distribution. And so today I want to introduce you to the president of Galaxy Trading, Michael North, and his bride. You're going to meet here in just a second. But first, here's a quick look at what's going on today at Hiller.
In a world of slick marketing speak and glossy data sheets, one company stands alone with the truth, or at least a strong opinion. Hiller product reviews coming soon to a monitor near you.
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Michael, welcome to AE Square. Did you want to introduce your wife?
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes, this is my wife, Xiaofang Zhou North.
Welcome.
Yes, we're two of the original founders of Galaxy Trade and Technology.
I would imagine most of our visitors to the show are not familiar with Galaxy. Can you give us a couple of minutes about the company, how it got started, and what you're doing today here at the Motor Speedway?
Galaxy Trade and Technology started about 2.5 years ago when Xiaofang and I and some of our associates at our Beijing office were invited to go and visit some high-producing magnesium mines in north-central China. Okay. So sort of where Utah is in the United States, right. Shanxi province is in China. Okay. It's kind of the western frontier of rapidly developing, industrializing China. The fascinating thing that we found was this has been the source over the past 70 years of much of the coal that has rapidly industrialized China. So they've been burning coal and other hydrocarbons like crazy in order to bring China from its position 70 years ago as a third world country, the largest third world country, but a long way to go, right? Up to today, where China is the number 2 economy in the world, and in some areas in technology and so on, China has matched or even exceeded the standards set by America and Europe. An incredible, velocity of change. Right. But it's come at a price. Energy is required for industrialization, for manufacturing, for transportation, and so on, for all those homes that now have microwave ovens that didn't. 70 years ago, right? Yeah. And the price has been dark skies and poisoned waters and land, right. And the health of the people. And so 10 years ago or so, there was a big active commitment made to clean it up. And they were very conscious of the environmental cost well before then, sure. Right? A lot of advances in solar power and so on. They've been making investments for a while. But as far as a re-industrialization of China's energy economy goes, it started actively about 10 years ago, and one of the first things was they said, we got to stop this coal thing, right? But imagine you've got hundreds of thousands, even across the country, millions of people working in the coal industry. Right. You've got all the coal fields, you've got all the roads, you've got all the cities and towns, and you've got all of their schools and all of the families and everything that are all tied to the coal economy, right? So it's an awful big ship to be able to turn, but they've done a lot over the last 10 years. And here's the really fascinating thing is the coal, the way it's layered in Shanxi province, is often co-deposited with magnesium. Interesting. So without really remarking upon it tremendously over the past 70 years, they've been mining magnesium in China, right? Along with the coal. And there's a lot of magnesium that's just been mined. It's sitting there. The coal is gone. There's still more reserves in the ground. and still more magnesium coming out, but now they're taking the magnesium and leaving the coal.
Interesting.
Right? So they didn't want to shut down the mines. They didn't want to send all those miners away. They didn't, all the trillions of dollars in roads and energy and infrastructure and so on that have been invested, they're now repurposing to the mining of magnesium and other minerals from that same land. And a lot of the people, they're retraining to be knowledge workers. They're retraining to be telecom people, software programmers, and so on, trying to keep them all in the same communities, right? And they're actually bringing in new people from schools and so on all over China. So it's a very exciting, like the Wild West, you know, in China right now, with a lot of really good people, a lot of smart engineers, a lot of attention to the building of the infrastructure, so public support of infrastructure and of building roads and so on. And so we walk into that and we see all this magnesium, we see all the people who are making high quality magnesium, and they're saying, can you help us get the magnesium to the world?
Right.
Because
they get it out of the ground, it's selling.
right. They know that their markets are underperforming the potential, and that the awareness of what magnesium is and what it does needs to be improved, because they feel that the markets will develop and will respond if automotive engineers in Germany fully understand what magnesium can do for their development. So we looked at that, we stepped back, we entered into a period of 9 months of research into the markets and the technology, developing relationships with the people there. The key city there is called Yulin, Y-U-L-I-N. It's a little city about the size of Chicago. Most Americans have never heard of it, but within Yulin, you know, it's a vibrant, ancient capital of China that's always been a center for culture and progress. The president of China currently comes from Shanxi province. So it's kind of like if the president comes from Texas and you're doing something for Texas, it's a good thing for everybody in Texas, right? So all of those stars are aligned now, and we agreed after about a year to form a company there in China dedicated to bringing high technology markets to China for magnesium.
For magnesium.
That's why magnesium, we're Trade and Technology is our company.
So magnesium has
By the way, just one more detail.
Sure.
Galaxy in Chinese is Xinghe, which means star river.
Star River.
Yeah. And so it has an implication that it's something that is powerful, that is strong, that it's inspirational. Xiaofang, you can say Xinghe and explain to us what you can put the characters on the screen and say Xinghe,
we'll do that.
and she'll explain what Xinghe means and the sound correctly.
Yeah. Well, it's based on the understanding and peace and respect and equality. Xinghe is like a star, you know, of the universe.
Right.
So we are all those stars. Yeah. So when we start the company, so it's based on collaboration globally.
Sure.
Yeah. So Xinghe was right on the our chart, the top of the chart. Yeah, that's what we did.
Excellent.
The name.
So we're here together today at Indy. We're going to be talking about a sponsorship that you have
What's the
here.
connection
What's the
between
connection?
coal
Magnesium,
fields and
coal,
magnesium?
and car racing.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So tee it up. What is the connection?
Okay, so the best high technology, high volume applications for magnesium that are most ready are in the automotive sector. Okay. Magnesium has been part of automobiles for over a century. There was a 1933 Bugatti that was built out of magnesium.
Right.
Many of the early models of the VW Beetle had significant amount of magnesium.
The Ferrari F40.
The Ferrari F40,
Yeah.
Porsche has used magnesium. From time to time, Mercedes has used magnesium. Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler are not strangers to magnesium. If you're a mechanical engineer, chemical, metallurgical engineer, you know exactly what magnesium is, no mystery, right? But it's been treated as a boutique metal because it's been assumed that it's too expensive and that supplies are irregular. So the way that we're approaching that market is to discipline the market to consolidate some of the highest producing mines so that we can produce high quantities and high quality for the automotive industry. And how do you show an engineer, an automotive engineer, that magnesium actually does what we say it can do, that it can be lightweight, that it can still be strong, that it can be versatile, that all the questions about combustibility and so on are handled.
And all that,
How do you handle it? You take it to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, put it in a race car, and torture it to the absolute edge of physics, right? Because vehicles here undergo stresses that you would never see in an ordinary car, right? But if you can prove that it works here, then a lot of those same names that I just mentioned, you know, and BMW and so on, they're all here. Nissan are here. They're racing their cars to prove their technological prowess.
And SRO is kind of a unique ecosystem to do that, right? Because they get free license. It's not everyone's driving the same car. This is an agile development lab for automotive engineering is what it is.
Very much.
Yeah.
SROs always wanted to be on the leading edge of innovation and show it off in competition. So we made an alliance with a small independent American manufacturer of automobiles that many people probably have never heard of, Panos.
Yes.
P-A-N-O-Z, out of Atlanta. And Dan Panos, who you're going to meet here in another program, is one of the most renowned American
it's like a modern
engineers.
Carroll Shelby. I will say,
So we've formed a relationship, a friendship, and an alliance and a partnership with Dan Panos. And two of his vehicles are here today, and they're doing incredibly well at the Motor Speedway. So that's why we're at races. We've been at several other races. We were in Austin a couple of weeks ago, and 3 weeks before that we were in Milwaukee, and we've been racing these cars and demonstrating that magnesium can stand up to the stress.
So let's talk a little bit specifically on magnesium and why would an engineer want to look at this instead of aluminum or steel or all of the common metals that our viewers would be more familiar with? Why magnesium, and why magnesium now versus the mag wheels that I had in college? You know, what's different?
Lightweighting.
Lightweight.
That's the primary, most obvious benefit of magnesium. Now, the fact that it is more corrosion resistant, that it is more stable at very high temperatures and very low temperatures, that it's anti-magnetic, that it has a programmable degree of ductility, that it's very stable over long periods of time. Programmable degree. Those are all good things.
Yes.
And they enhance the performance characteristics of magnesium. But where it starts is in this box.
Oh.
Can I do a little?
Let's.
Can I do a little magic trick with you?
Let's see what's in the magic box here.
We don't have a rabbit.
Oh, okay, no rabbit.
We have 3 cylinders.
3 cylinders. Okay.
Let's have a look.
Okay.
What have we got here? We have a cylinder of magnesium.
Okay.
We're not going to make them disappear.
No.
We have a cylinder of steel.
Steel. All
Steel
right.
alloys.
That one must be aluminum.
We have a cylinder of aluminum.
Okay.
So all 3 of these, they're the same volume with approximately the same performance characteristics that I just mentioned. Okay. So I'd like you to please hold this in your left hand.
Okay.
And that is 100%.
That's
okay. That's our
pound or so. Yeah.
That's our control.
Right. Okay.
Volume and of steel. Now, if you would hold this aluminum in your right hand.
Yeah, it's
So
lighter.
what is your layman's perspective? What's the ratio between if that's 100%, this is
Half, maybe a little more than half the weight of the
so
steel.
50%?
Yeah, 50-ish, about the
Okay.
steel. Am I close?
You're close.
Am I right? Okay.
You're correct.
Okay,
Now,
about half.
what we claim, because we try to be conservative from an engineering standpoint,
Right,
and different alloys have different brackets of
sure.
of
Different densities and
variability,
whatnot, right.
But what we're confident of is that in most cases, the aluminum will be about 40% lighter than the steel.
Okay, so I
Equivalent
was
steel.
pretty close.
So
Okay.
you said 50.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
It was a measurement. So now put down the aluminum
okay.
and hold the equivalent
Oh,
magnesium.
wow, look at that. Okay, that's like half the weight-ish of the aluminum. It's way lighter than the aluminum, and it's like 3 to 4 times the steel. Wow, what comes to mind, this feels like titanium as far as the feel, how light it is.
So-
That's crazy how
What do you
much
think?
lighter this is.
100% and
Between 30 and
25%.
40%. Yeah, 25.
20,
yeah.
25%
Yeah.
and 100. Yeah, okay.
So 4 times difference.
So your reading is correct.
Wow.
Your reading is correct.
And
from a-
structurally, mechanically, if I were going to design the same part with this versus steel, would I design it exactly the same, or do I need more of this to have the same structural capability?
No.
Now that's
We can
incredible.
do plug and play parts that are precision engineered to exactly the same dimensions
Really.
as to replace a steel part,
Yeah.
like an engine cover and so on, exactly without changing any physical dimensions with the magnesium. Now, if you want to change physical dimensions, of course you have lighter material, and
Right.
the opportunity to do that is there.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you're designing something from scratch, then
Right.
there's less magnesium.
But I could use the
so it
same
could be
mold for a
smaller.
casing or something that I was
Yeah.
using in steel.
The
and
same tools.
Same
and-
tool.
Yeah.
How is this as far as machinability, as far the process of using this? Is there special care and feeding that's required to work with magnesium instead?
It can be cut, it can be forged, it can be sand cast with the same flexibility as the equivalent aluminum.
Right.
Okay, but it'll be that much less
Right.
in weight than the
Right.
aluminum. And here's the interesting thing about magnesium is it's at the molecular level, its crystalline structure is symmetrical. So it's a hexagonal
Okay.
structure at the molecular level. Now, iron is not
Right.
symmetrical, and aluminum is not symmetrical. That normally doesn't matter all that much, but if you have a symmetrical crystal, then it can form bonds with other molecules in a much more flexible way, right?
Right.
Without using a lot of heat.
Which that
without
can be
using a
good
lot
or
of-
bad, depending, right? I mean,
Well, let's call it a chameleon molecule.
okay.
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 So you can do many more things with it. You can adapt many more things to it. So, and there's a library of other elements that are tested that work and bond well with magnesium, like copper, like iron,
Right.
like aluminum, like lithium, like manganese, and so on. And if you have the right recipe in the right mixture, then you can produce an alloy that has a wide range of functions.
Right.
So
So you have a much wider aperture of capabilities based on the alloying than you perhaps would with steel
Yeah.
or aluminum.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to offering to Corvette, for example,
Right.
a control arm that is 50% lighter or more than their current steel control arm, exactly the same physical dimensions, but that has some performance characteristics that are actually even better
Right.
than the steel.
What kind of premium would Corvette end up paying to be able to use this element instead of steel for that same control arm? Is this a premium metal as well?
No, our goal is to deliver at the same price.
Really?
Yeah. Of course, price is always volume sensitive and so on, but that's another part of the Galaxy formula is we have financial engineering to go with the metallurgical engineering, the chemical and so on. So the financial engineering means that we'll go to Corvette and say, okay, if you need this number of control arms, of course they wouldn't just want that, but let's just say,
as an example.
As a theoretical example, if you need this 100,000 control arms over the next 3 years, then we have the financial capability to give them a stable price. And without respect to any fluctuations in the cost of energy or the cost of labor or the cost of the dollar versus the renminbi in that intervening time. So we have the financial vehicles and the capability in place with a private equity firm in New York named Wisdom Capital to be able to hedge against those risks that I just mentioned and be able to give Corvette a fixed price, right, over 3 years based on delivery.
That's a fairly new offer to be made, right? Because I seem to remember that the metals market here had some challenging times a number of years ago in China, right? Yeah. So you're able to abate that and smooth that out through Galaxy.
Yeah, and it starts with a relationship that we have with the Yulin city government and the Shanxi government, where they've set aside 100,000 metric tons of magnesium for Galaxy to be able to guarantee that we can smooth over any bulges in the supply-demand curve over a period of time. Now, our intent is that with our 15 core mines, with their diversity of capability, that we're going to be able to supply a steady stream, right? But we have that 100,000 in Fort Knox in order that there can be full confidence in that. And then we have the bank in New York that is using their financial engineering to make sure that, like the transportation costs with a company like Maersk, which is our multimodal transportation ally globally, they're our preferred carrier because they have every method of carriage that there is and truly global international, operations in 160 countries.
That's fantastic. What about, does Galaxy also provide alloying services for Corvette or somebody else? I mean, with this wide aperture of alloying capability, do you manage that as well? Do you provide metallurgical or scientific assistance as far as what those should be?
Yes. So if there is an exact correspondence with a standard alloy, and we can test it out, and there's about 16 major standard alloys that have been defined for magnesium, then we can just plug in some AZ31 and off it goes.
Okay.
But if we want to optimize more, or if we have a non-standard requirement, then we would go to the Institute for Metals Research in Shenyang, which is also in northern China. And they have about 15 years worth of experience in metallurgical design specifically focused on magnesium. So at the IMR, they have groups that specialize in all the major metals, but the magnesium group is headed by a gentleman named Yuan Yuancheng.
Okay.
And he's a professor there, and he's working closely with Galaxy. He is our retained expert on magnesium alloy design. And Xiaofang has met with Dr. Yang. I haven't been able to meet with him because of
COVID.
You know the reason.
Yeah.
But Xiaofang did an interview with him and spent most of a day with him. And there's an interview that you can link to off of this with Dr. Yang, so you can see him lay the case out. But Xiaofang can talk a little bit about the IMR and our relationship with Dr. Yang.
Yeah, we're actually going to have the 7th summit for IMC, International Magnesium China.
Okay.
Yeah, that's happening in November 19th. So Galaxy is a co-organizer.
Sponsor. Okay.
Yeah. So we
Fantastic.
have last time, the sixth conference, we have about 400 people from all over the country,
Right.
including United States. So one of our guys is organizing,
Right.
inviting all the educators and engineers, including business people, to join us at this
Yes.
upcoming summit.
That's fantastic. We'll make sure that we link at the bottom of this episode
Thank
for viewers that want to learn more about that.
Sure,
We'll make
sure.
that.
Yeah, that'll be a Zoom and a physical.
Oh, it'll be
conference.
virtual as well, so people can attend?
People can
Oh.
Yes.
attend live, and it'll be archived and so on, so you can tune
Outstanding.
back into that.
So I've got to geek out from an engineering perspective on one other thing.
You geek out?
Yeah,
No,
so it's
that
crazy,
couldn't
isn't it?
happen.
So I keep holding this coupon here of a piece of sheet metal, and it's nice. You can't see this at home, but you really feel how light this is right here. You should make business cards out of these.
We are.
Yeah, there you go.
You're not the first one to say that.
To say that, when I hold this in my hand, the question that comes to my mind is magnesium a replacement for carbon fiber?
Yes.
Because the structural capabilities of this, and there's benefit of metal over carbon fiber if it is light and strong. So can you speak a little bit about the use of magnesium in sheet form?
Sure. Yeah, this is standard sheet. It's millimeter thick.
Yeah.
But
It's so
I'm
rigid. I
trying
know.
to bend it.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to bend it.
Right.
But you
Yeah.
hold one side of it, I'll hold
Yeah.
the other. Let's try.
It's not going. It's
Right.
not going.
So there's no deformation
Right.
there whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, there is a certain amount of force that will ultimately bend it.
Yeah.
But are manually bending it. This is a test shear that's being used by a company to test the bonding capability of magnesium with other metals.
With others, right.
So, yeah, this often magnesium is delivered in sheets like this, or in pallets. Often it's delivered in cylinders. Sometimes it's delivered in powdered form. And the pure magnesium is delivered in an ingot that looks
Yes.
like a gold ingot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different physical forms in which it's delivered. But the ability to be able to take something like this, for example, and put it through a superform kind of process and produce the exterior panels for an automobile, produce the doors and the hood and the rear panels and so on, it's all there. And,
Fantastic.
and the ability to extrude it so that you can produce a long continuous surface that's precisely formed.
Right.
And even bend it as you're extruding it, because
Yeah.
you can program the ductility of it, right? So you're going to be talking to Dan Panos, and
Yes.
he'll show you how you can start at the front of a vehicle with the base chassis of the vehicle.
Yes.
Start with that surface, bring it around, curve it down and across, all the way to the end of the vehicle, and then back up one continuous rail, and you have two of them that are identical, and that forms the entire substructure of a vehicle.
That's, as you're speaking about that, in my mind I'm going wing spars on aircraft is a perfect application for this as well. That's fantastic. So speaking of aircraft, I do want to end with this because when we were setting up for the show, talking to some colleagues of mine, they've all had memories of, when we were in high school or college chemistry, having the magnesium experiment, right? And then we've all had sets of mag wheels and growing up and whatnot. But you and I had discussed, and I'd seen this, and we will tie this white paper to the show so you can see this. I found this fascinating, the work the FAA has done in qualifying magnesium for aircraft interiors. And if there was anything that I read that screams the time for magnesium to be used more widely is now. It was that white paper. Can you share a little bit about what the FAA learned and what the tests were and the benefits of using this when we get on a 737?
Yeah. So they went to the most vulnerable, problematic use of a metal in an aircraft, which is passenger safety. So the seat structures they tried out making with magnesium instead of with the current mixture of steel and aluminum that the seat structures are made from. And this was a study that took a couple of years, and with the FAA's obsessive attention to detail and doing and redoing and controlling and so on, they found that there is an alloy of magnesium that, correctly specified, can be used for a seat frame that will not burn, will not ignite, will not combust. Okay? If you take pure magnesium and take a match to it, of course, it'll do what our chemistry experiments do. Other metals like gold and so on is pretty much useless if you have pure gold because it's so soft, right? But you can make a gold bangle that will stand up to a lot of stress. Silver by itself is not all that great a metal. It tarnishes so quickly. You know, copper, of course, also if you use just pure copper. But if you use bronze, and then bronze is an alloy, right? So magnesium could be alloyed. And again, the chameleon nature of magnesium gives more options for alloying than a lot of the other major metals. And here's the other thing, it is a major metal from the point of view of the amount of magnesium that's available in the Earth's crust. The fifth most common metal in the world is iron.
The fifth?
Yes.
Okay.
The seventh most common metal in the world is magnesium.
Oh.
The ninth most common metal is aluminum.
So there's more magnesium than aluminum available?
Yes. Technically speaking, when you look in the crust and when you look in the oceans, when you look in the lakes and so on, there's a lot of magnesium in the world and in the universe as a whole, right? There's a lot of magnesium in you right now.
Right.
Magnesium is a key to the process of photosynthesis in all living things. So it allows carbon to communicate well with hydrogen and in order to produce the results of photosynthesis. So if your magnesium level goes down, you may feel a little faint. You may not be able to sleep very well. You may feel reactive to bright lights and sounds. If your magnesium deficiency goes a little further, your heart may begin to become unstable. Your immune system may be compromised, subject to viruses and bacteria. If you have other conditions, it could also lead to sudden cardiac arrest, and you could fall over on the ground and this show would be over. Right? So there is a fairly high instance of sudden cardiac arrest due to severe magnesium deficiency. According to NIH, it could be 33,000 people a year in the United States who have sudden cardiac arrest. So, of course, at Galaxy, we say that the whole world has a magnesium deficiency. We want everybody
You're
to
gonna
have
fix it.
If the question is anything, the answer is magnesium.
Magnesium.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Xiaofeng, thank you so much for coming to AE Squared, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
This is going to be a great weekend of racing here. I already saw you racing this morning, and you guys did very, very well.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to come back to the AE Squared stage, we'd love to get an update on Galaxy. We will be sharing with you back at home how you can get in contact with Michael and Xiaofeng. And if you're interested, make sure you follow the Panos Racing Team as they, take lightweight magnesium to the racetrack. We'll see you next time right here on AE Squared. AE Squared is a Hiller Measurements Town Hall production. Copyright 2020. AE Squared is produced by Anthony Longoria. Production support by Christian Zamora. The email address, if you'd like to attend a future taping, is tickets@hillermej.com. Hey, thanks for joining this week's episode of AE Squared. We're back at Indy next time for our talk with Dan Panos of Panos Automotive. Dan is a true David versus Goliath story in the automotive business. He's making waves both in the showroom and the racetrack, so make sure to subscribe and ring the bell, because you don't want to miss the chance to meet Dan Panos. See you then.